I didn't really know at the time that I could have a panic attack. I was 10. Obviously, I didn't know what a panic attack was. I started like zooming out, and it felt like I'd traveled through a wormhole into another dimension. It scared me. Any sensation scared me. Just existing scared me. It kind of hit me that I would never be normal again. That's what I thought at the time. I thought I was the only one in the world who felt this way. I can't describe it in words how relieved I felt to know that I wasn't the only one. Day by day, I started to forget about DP. It just left my brain. No matter how young or how old you are, eventually you will recover no matter what.
Hey everyone, I'm Sean O'Connor, author of the Depersonalization Manual, and today I'm speaking with Ibrahim from Australia. At 13 years old, Ibrahim is so far the youngest interviewee we've ever had on the channel. When Ibrahim was just 10, he develops Depersonalization Derealization Disorder triggered by an intense panic attack at a family event. His symptoms included existential thoughts like, am I a ghost? Am I real? Memory loss, feeling like he was forgetting the time and place where he was, a feeling of impending doom, and a feeling as if he was watching his memories through a screen. Ibrahim struggled with the condition and these symptoms for about a year, but thankfully he has since made a full recovery. And as he wrote to me in a recent YouTube comment, my life has only improved since then. Before we get started, I'd like to mention that I've spoken with Ibrahim's father, and he has given us his full recorded permission for Ibrahim to be here with us today and to share his story. I want to make sure that it's clear that we have Ibrahim's father's full support and that Ibrahim's well-being is our top priority. And Ibrahim is with us today to talk about his experience with and recovery from Depersonalization Derealization Disorder. Ibrahim, you're very welcome to the channel. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
It's a pleasure. Great to have you on the channel. Ibrahim, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Ibrahim. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I was born in Sydney. I developed DP when I was 10, but other than that, like my family life, it's really good. I cube a lot, like I solve Rubik's Cubes, and I play cricket. Not sure if you and Ireland are very familiar with cricket. I also have a YouTube channel, just like you, with quite a bit of subscribers. Um, yeah, that's basically all about me.
So this is Rubik's Cube type
Yeah.
game, is that? Okay, have you done that in competitions and things?
Yeah, I've been to 5 or 6 competitions.
In Australia, is it?
Yeah.
That's awesome. How did you do?
Not really good. I mean, my current average is like 17 seconds. I can solve it in 17 seconds. But compared to the rest of Australians are really ahead in cubing. I'm not that good. Maybe top 25%.
That sounds pretty good to me, Ibrahim. If you're solving a Rubik's Cube in 17 seconds, that's very, very impressive. Well done.
Thank you.
How is school going for you?
Honestly, I'd have to say it's pretty boring. It's pretty boring to have to sit through lots of classes. Grades-wise, I'm doing fine. I'd rather spend my time doing something else, like maybe reading.
Well, look, when I was your age, I wanted to spend all my time reading and playing video games. So I hear you, buddy. Ibrahim, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with DPDR and how did it start for you?
It started at a family event in around mid to late 2021. It was a very crowded dinner hall. I didn't have any previous, I wasn't known as like an anxious kid, but that particular night, I was sleep deprived the night before. I don't know. I stayed up a bit playing games, and there were no windows in that dinner hall. And I remember I was sitting on the kids' table, and we were playing games like musical chairs and whatnot. And then I remember this feeling of sort of like the walls closing in, kind of like claustrophobia. And I never felt that before. And then it hit me that I didn't really know at the time that I could have a panic attack. I was 10. Obviously, I didn't know what a panic attack was. I kind of just felt like numb. First stage, I was numb. Second stage, I looked around for my mum. Third stage, I just like ran. I ran out of that dinner hall as fast as I could just because I was scared of the walls closing in and like that feeling of tightness. When I ran out, I was followed by my mom and she asked me if I was okay. And I just broke down there on the spot. Me being 10, I couldn't handle such emotions. I was really scared for my life. And then I started like zooming out and it felt like I'd traveled through a wormhole into another dimension where I was watching myself through like a screen or a mirror or whatever you'd like to say. My mom kind of talked me down a bit. She said it's gonna be okay. I washed my face with cold water. And my family, I forced my family to leave early that night. On the drive home, I just remember sort of the sensation of the car going up and down. It scared me. Any sensation scared me. Just existing scared me. When I got home, I tried looking at everything, anything actually, anything I looked at, it just looked disgusting. I was disgusted at the sight of anything. And I tried to sleep and I couldn't. I threw up a couple of times that night just because of how worried I was. The next night, I remember, we were invited to another dinner. I don't know why. We were invited to so much dinners. And that dinner, I just completely lost it. I did not feel real at all. I just walked around aimlessly like a ghost. And that's when these thoughts started to come in like, am I a ghost? Do my parents know I exist? And like all these existential thoughts, like, why is reality existent? I was 10. My brain was overfilled with emotion, stress. And it kind of hit me that I would never be normal again. That's what I thought at the time. And it was a very worrying feeling. Like, I thought I was the only one in the world who felt this way. So, the next day, I had school. It was a Monday. And I begged my mum to get out of school. I begged her to not send me to school. And she listened because she saw my conditions. She saw how I was, and I wasn't really good. She emailed my teacher that I was having anxiety, which is good. She got that on point. She's a doctor, but she never really told me. She knows about depersonalization, derealization. She knows about that, but she never really told me because she didn't want me to. She's not a fan of me Googling up stuff. So she kind of kept that hidden from me. In the following months, I went to school as normal because it was like a safe space for me. I remember in September, maybe 2 months on after the incident, I was tired of having these feelings every time I went out somewhere other than school. I was just sick of it. So I searched it up. I don't really know why I didn't do this earlier. I searched up why do I feel like I'm in a dream? And boom, there was depersonalization, derealization. And then when I looked more into it, I saw lots of stuff from the Mayo Clinic, lots of websites, lots of Reddit threads. I didn't really look at them all. I just looked for like a cure. I searched up cure for depersonalization. It said there is no cure. There's treatments and therapies. And so I wondered myself, how can I sort of like fix this? And from there on, I went on this like rampant search. I searched website after website, YouTube video after YouTube video, how to get rid of this. And it only just got worse because I was hyper fixating on that. So it was like a cascading doom thought thing. It was a cascading doom thought cycle where like I would search something up, I'd look at it, I'd fixate over it, and then I'd just worry more about that thing. So one particular day, I was sitting in my grandma's room searching up stuff about DP, and I suddenly found your YouTube channel and your website, the DP manual. So I was like, why not give this a shot? I looked at all the reviews and stuff, I looked at all the positive reviews and I thought to myself, why not buy this? So, with some money I borrowed from my grandma, I ended up buying the DP manual and I followed it. I, I actually read the whole thing. Maybe some words I didn't understand because I was 10. I read the whole thing maybe twice, and then I realized I'm not the only one. I went onto your YouTube channel, looked at all the comments, and the relief that I felt in that moment was like sensational. I can't describe it in words how relieved I felt to know that I wasn't the only one. And in the months following, I followed all the DP rules of recovery. I'd also printed out that checklist. I checked off all of those every week, except for the exercise. I was a bit lazy. And look, I wouldn't say it was a very fast, swift recovery, but if you keep building those habits, eventually you're going to recover. And that's what I learned is that when you get DPDR, when you get like a dose of it, it's not game over. You're not back to square one. You have to keep going onto your progress. I think a main thing that I learned during my recovery was there's no right way. Like there's lots of ways you can adapt recovery into your lifestyle.
Can I just say that that was a really, really excellent description of what it's like to go through DPDR. Yeah, I'm sorry that you had to. I'm sorry that you had to go through that at such a young age. It's difficult, but um, it sounds like you have a lot of good support around you as well.
Yeah.
And yeah. Um, and you're so right. You know the symptoms that we experience, you know, as you described, of feeling like the walls are closing in. It's typical with anxiety.
Yeah.
And isn't it? And I'm sure you saw other people describe this as well. That when people try to describe the feeling of depersonalization, which is extremely common, it's perfectly natural. But when you don't know what it is, like you're totally right. It does feel like you've gone through a wormhole. You're in a different dimension. You're seeing reality differently. It can be very, very scary. I think with anxiety as well, it always makes you feel like you're the only person in the world who feels like this. I felt the exact same. I thought like nobody else has ever felt as bad as this. Like this can't be right, you know. Which is very scary when it happens first, but that's just kind of the way anxiety is, you know. It always feels isolating, you know. If you feel anxious, you always feel like everybody else is fine except me. That's kind of the nature of it. But when you understand that, you realize that even that feeling of isolation is actually quite common, and it's, you know, and also most people will experience this at some point in their lives. I find it really interesting as well, Ibrahim, that you had, you know, when you said, you know, you got to a point where you said to yourself, okay, how do I fix this? What do I do? Okay. And at 10 years old, you know, that you still have that. I can imagine you looking at this problem in the same way that you look at a Rubik's Cube. That you look at it, you analyze it, you turn it around, you look at it this way, that way, and you go, right, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to fix this as quickly as I can. Do I have to think about it differently? Do I have to look at it from a different angle? But you do it. You did it, like, you know? So that's it's very impressive. Like, do you might, yeah, of course, man. Well done you. Well done you. Just out of curiosity, Ibrahim, so what was it like? You know, were you talking to your friends and stuff? Like, did you ever try to describe the feeling to any of your buddies, or was it something that you
Yeah.
kind of kept to yourself, or how was that?
So with my friends, I mostly kept it to myself. I just tried to be normal around them because I didn't want them thinking I was weak, in all honesty. Um, to my parents, I tried describing it to them, but they did understand, and my mom did know that I was experiencing DPDR, and she was very supportive. I didn't really talk about it openly with much people. Maybe one of my teachers I told her, but she really didn't get it. She thought I was just joking.
Yeah. I think as well, you know, when when you're, as you mentioned that your mom describing it as it's being anxiety, um, is that, you know, that is correct, you know, it is anxiety, and often kind of just thinking about it like that can be a good step forward in moving towards understanding it. Because even though you might be feeling okay, but I don't feel like I'm real, or I feel like my memory is damaged or something like that. But then when, you know, someone like your mom, who is a doctor, says, okay, but what you're just saying is anxiety, that can help to just put a label on it. Okay. It doesn't, it's, as you said, it doesn't switch it off immediately, but it just kind of like it just points you in the right direction so you can start moving towards making changes with it, you know. Um Ibrahim, we mentioned a few of them at the start of the call, but can you tell us a bit more about the symptoms that you're experiencing?
Okay, so the main one I was experiencing was just watching myself. Like, I felt like I died and I was watching my memories on repeat because every day felt the same. Like, it just felt boring. And there's also this aspect of memory loss, as in sometimes I just forget where I was, why I was there, who I was with, and what the time was. Especially with the time, I lost all concept of time. And also another one was dizziness. I'm not sure if that actually comes with DPDR. I did get pretty dizzy and claustrophobic at times, especially in like supermarkets where they have fluorescent lights. Still not a fan of them. And like narrow aisles and stuff. It just, and another one was just feeling a numbness on my face. Like whenever it was triggered, my face would just go numb and like my heart would drop and I would just like get really nervous, anxious, you could say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The memory thing was a big thing for me as well. I remember looking at photographs of myself when I was younger, and I just thought, like, I don't recognize that guy. Like, I don't, you know, this guy who is kind of, you know, as you were saying, like you'd be going to like cube competitions, and you're feeling confident, and you're attracted to people. I used to go traveling and stuff when I was younger, but I would look at photographs of myself when I was traveling, and I would think, I don't recognize that guy. That guy, it seemed like a different life, you know. It seemed really,
Yeah.
you know, very, very distant from me. And the time as well. Yeah, that was a big thing with me, Ibrahim. I was, I remember like it felt like time was either moving too quickly or too slowly. I would be super conscious of time as well, which kind of freaked me out. And the dizziness as well. You know, dizziness is such a common symptom of not just DPDR, but all anxiety-based conditions. Um, you know, we often kind of think that anxiety is just like this mental thing, but it's physical as well. You know, we get our muscles tense up and our eyes are, you know, our pupils dilate. But feelings of dizziness can absolutely be a part of that too. Um, uh, what was if you could pick one thing, Ibrahim, what would be the most frustrating part of the whole experience? What was the most frustrating thing that you had?
It was getting these bursts of DP and then just feeling like I'd lost all my progress in recovery. Like I felt like I'd gone back to square one and like everything was the same as day one when I got it. Like every symptom spot on. It was just like day one.
I remember having that too, where when I was starting to recover, I would have days where I would be maybe working or just, you know, out and about, and I would start to think, oh God, I think I have this under control. And then the next day, I would wake up and the anxiety would be there and it would be quite strong. And my first thought was like, oh, great, it's back again and I'm back to square one. And I guess I wasn't actually making progress. And that felt really scary, really demoralizing. But as you know, that is part of the recovery process, you know. Um, as you mentioned earlier as well, Ibrahim, you know, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like you find the information and you wake up the next day and it's all gone, because it's a habit. You have to give it time for a habit to change. But you see small little incremental changes. You see small little build-ups of improvements, and then the anxiety starts to fade away, you know? Um, yeah. So with that in mind, Ibrahim, can you tell us a bit about how the recovery process felt for you? So you said, okay, so obviously it didn't happen overnight, but tell us about like the little changes that you saw that started happening over time. What did that feel like?
The recovery was like that old saying, two steps forward, one step back. You get two steps forward and then you get set back once. It feels like a setback, but actually it's more progress. You're working on that. Day by day, I noticed change. I was more confident in going out. Sometimes I didn't even look at the sky because that was a big thing. When I looked at the sky, I got like existential dread. I could actually start to look at the sky. I could actually start to play cricket again. And I could actually leave the house, occasionally go to the grocery store. And day by day, with these habits building up, I eventually I started to forget about DP, you know?
Mm.
It just left my brain. Like with these habits ingrained into my day-to-day routine, I had no time to think about it. I'd always distract myself with like video games, cubing, as you said, um, book reading as well. I know a lot of people find it hard to read books during DP, but personally, I didn't really find it that hard. And without any time left just ponder about DP, I just sort of started to forget about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how it happens, right?
Yeah.
You just kind of, because what we do first is we're like, okay, I have to figure this out. I have to figure this out. And then what happens is like when you just kind of leave it be and you focus your attention away, that gives our brains the permission to let it go. I found reading very, very helpful as well. I don't know if you did this, Ibrahim, but what I used to do was I'd read a book, but I would actually read it out loud. So I would say the words as I was reading it. And even when there was like different characters in the book speaking, I would read them too, and I would read even different voices, you know, because it was such a good way to, like, I had to be completely focused on the book when I was doing that, you know. It's like when you're doing that, your mind can only focus on one thing. It's like having a spotlight on that book, you know. A really good way just to train your brain to do one thing instead of jumping around to all these different scary thoughts. Um, uh, and did you take time off school, Ibrahim, or did you stay there the whole time?
I took maybe 1 to 3 days off school.
Mm.
I'm not really scared of school. Like it was my safe space.
Hmm.
I felt safe at school. There was lots of windows, so I didn't get claustrophobic or anxious. I didn't really get depersonalization or derealization at school much, other than a few times maybe when we were in like closed classrooms. I think with the distraction of friends being there and just a learning environment, I really just forgot about DP, like I said before. It's just a very forgettable thing.
Right, that's totally right. It's a it's a very forgettable thing once you give yourself the chance to forget about it. And
Yeah.
that's the mistake that we make. But when we do the right thing and we give ourselves the chance and the space to let it go, our brains find that they're way more interested in playing cricket and in reading
Yeah.
books and hanging out with your friends than they are in looking at like existential dread when you look at the sky, that kind of stuff. You know, you
Yeah.
can't need that. um, and did you find the DP manual helpful in your recovery?
Very much. I read it 2 to 3 times. I've read it 5 times total. Um, just reading it gives you that reassurance that everything's fine, it's completely normal, and you will recover no matter what. Like as long as you follow the steps to recovery, as said in the DP manual, and it's what do you call it, elements, you will recover, and you will recover 100%, even if it doesn't feel like it. You're stacking these habits above each other. These habits are like step stools. They get you higher and higher until you eventually leave the DP below you.
That's a really good metaphor. Yeah, excellent. um, Ibrahim, people ask me this question all the time. Now that you've recovered, is getting back to normal really getting back to normal?
Yeah, I'd say. I today went on a bike ride to a park alone, and I didn't find anything scary whatsoever. And it's been like that since I recovered for the past 2, 3 years. Occasionally, you might get worried, but that's just human nature, you know? You do get worried about stuff, but you won't get DP the same as when you had it the worst.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing as well, is that, you know, it is, it's normal to have moments of anxiety. Everyone has moments of anxiety.
Perfectly.
If you're at school, perfectly normal. If you're at school, if you're out in the world, if you're doing cubing tournaments,
Yeah.
you know, you're going to feel nervous. You're going to feel, but that's, you know, that's normal. That's okay. That's a normal, healthy thing to feel. It means that you're interested and you care and you're passionate about it. That's a really okay thing. But what we don't need to have is like ongoing feelings of like disconnection and that type of fight or flight anxiety. We don't need that anymore. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I got one more question for you, Ibrahim. So there's going to be people watching this interview who may be going through something very, very similar to what you went through, and maybe even kids around the same age, maybe like kind of 10 years old. If you could speak to yourself back when this first happened, if you can speak directly to those kids watching this video and give them some advice, what would you say to them?
I would say you've got your whole life ahead of you. No matter how young or how old you are, you can recover, and there's no point in worrying about this because eventually you will recover no matter what, as long as you follow the steps given in the DP manual. So to anyone, no matter how young or how old, I'd like to say life is worth living, I guess. There's no point in worrying about small things, big things, because eventually, I use this strategy a lot. Try and remember what you were worrying about 1 year ago today. See how that goes. You're not going to remember unless it was something really big. So, summarized, I would say, look forward to recovery because it's sweet. No matter how slow or how fast your recovery is, you will recover, and you need to know that.
That's great advice. Ibrahim, it's been so lovely to speak with you today. Thank you for coming on the channel and sharing your story. And I know there's going to be a lot of people who watch your story and find it super inspirational, especially younger people who are going through the same condition. So yeah, it's been really, really fun to speak with you as well. And thank you so much for being on the channel.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Keep up the good work, Ibrahim, and best of luck with school and with your cubing career and the cricket and all the other cool things that you're doing. It was great to speak with you.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.